Hello, galera. Hi, everyone. I'm Philip Galinsky, founder and director of Samba, New York. Today, we're going to be continuing our series exploring some basic patterns on some of the different Samba percussion instruments. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on the Agogo. But before we dive into today's lesson, I just wanted to mention that this beautiful two-bell Agogo was made by Contemporanea, and this beautiful four-bell Agogo was also made by Contemporanea. For those of you who don't know, I'm an endorser of Contemporanea. They're an amazing company based in São Paulo, Brazil, and they make incredible, super high quality Samba percussion instruments and accessories, and I definitely recommend you check them out. If you're based here in the US and you'd like to get your own Contemporanea products right here, I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can do just that at a discount. So definitely check that out. And I also want to thank Contemporanea for their support. So now back to the lesson. For those of you who don't know, the Agogo is a musical instrument that is believed to have originated in Africa. It consists of two or more metal bells welded together. And in fact, in Africa, we can find different types of metal bells of different shapes and sizes, known under a variety of different names and played in different contexts and within different musical cultures in Africa. And when the Agogo was brought from Africa to Brazil during the slave trade, it has appeared in Brazil over the years in a variety of different formats. You have this two-bell version of the instrument with one low bell, one high bell, which I would call the classic version of the Agogo in Brazil. But in Brazil, you also have a three-bell Agogo, and you have this four-bell Agogo, which was created by the musician Edgar do Agogo. And you also have Agogos that have even more than four bells. The Agogo can be played in Samba. It's also a sacred instrument in the Afro-Brazilian religion of Candomblé. It's used in capoeira, the Afro-Brazilian martial art dance. And it can also be played in a host of other styles of Brazilian music. Now, within the Samba, the Agogo can be played in a carnival context, such as in a Bateria, and it can also be played in a non-carnival or small group Samba context, such as a roda de samba or pagode group or samba band. Now, in my experience in the Samba schools of Rio de Janeiro, those baterias that make use of the Agogo these days tend to use the four-bell version of the instrument. There are some baterias in Rio that do use the two-bell Agogo, but it's much less common these days. Okay, so before we dive into the actual musical material, I just wanted to mention that, in my opinion, there isn't necessarily just one basic pattern for the Agogo. In fact, I would say that there's an infinite number of possible patterns that could be played on the Agogo for Samba. In the Samba, the Agogo can sometimes just play a single pattern repeated over and over again with no variations. Sometimes it can play a basic pattern with variations. At other times, the Agogo might play a pre-composed melodic line that spans the duration of the song, such as, for example, in an Agogo section of a Samba school bateria. And in other contexts, the Agogo player might be free to improvise and create melodies, so it all depends on the context. Now, I'm going to share with you in this video lesson two classic basic patterns for the Samba on the Agogo among many possible basic patterns, okay? But before we dive into those patterns, I just wanted to mention there are different ways of holding the Agogo, different ways of playing it. For example, let me just show you what the Agogo sounds like if I just play it open without muting the bells, okay? So if I just play it like this, or even on the side. Okay, so you may have noticed that when I play the Agogo in that fashion, there's a lot of ring to it, there are a lot of overtones, and if you're playing the Agogo in a bateria, that might be desirable because in that context, generally speaking, you want to get a lot of volume out of the instrument, and those overtones will generally be eaten up by the sound of the whole bateria. So in a bateria, I would generally play the Agogo like this for that reason. But in a small group samba context, I would, generally speaking, play the Agogo like this on the side and muting the bells. So let me show you how I hold the Agogo and how I play it generally in a small group samba context. So I'm right-handed, so I place the Agogo in the palm of my left hand, and I'm muting the top bell with my thumb here, and I have my second, third, and fourth fingers touching the bottom of the low bell, and I have my index finger pressed up against the underside of the low bell. Before I show you what this sounds like though, let me show you what I'm doing with my right hand. So I hold first of all, I'm using the same type of stick for the Agogo that I use for the hepaniki, and I hold it like I hold any other drumstick. I have my thumb, so just as a rule of thumb, I go up about 1/3 from the bottom of the stick, and I place my thumb on top, and I have my index finger below that, and then I gently wrap my other fingers around, and I turn my wrist at about a 45-degree angle, and I play. All right? So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So let me show you what this sounds like when I'm I'm kind of cradling the Agogo in the palm of my hand, and I'm muting it. Okay? So that's generally speaking the sound that I like to go for when I'm playing the Agogo in a small group samba context. There may be other situations in small group samba when I'll play it, more open, like that. It really depends on the context, but I would say, generally speaking, I play it muted like this in a small group samba situation. All right? So let's jump now into the two basic patterns that I'm going to show you for the samba on the Agogo in this video lesson. The first pattern is a classic pattern for Agogo, for samba, that you may have heard on some classic batucada recordings, such as those of the Mocidade Samba School from Rio. This is a pattern that can be played in the bateria, can be played in small group samba, and I have a mnemonic device that I created to teach this pattern, and it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? So if you notice, the first cycle I say, hi, how are you? What's your name? And every other cycle I say, hello, how are you? What's your name? Okay, so keep that in mind. But now we're going to transfer that. We're going to actually, when we transfer this pattern to the Agogo, we're going to, of course, be playing on both bells. So the mnemonic device I kind of recited in a monotone, but now I'm going to sing the mnemonic device. I'm going to sing the pattern, and where I sing a low note, you're going to play the low bell. Where I sing a high note, you're going to play the high bell. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Okay, so now if we just kind of discount the first cycle for the time being, and we consider that the phrase starts with hello, how are you? What's your name? Just for the moment, you'll notice that each bell I'm playing 2 times, 2 strokes on each bell. So for example, like this. Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Okay, so the first time though, we're playing a single stroke on the low bell, and then we're playing 2 strokes on each of the bells and alternating like that. So we're going, hi, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? And we just repeat like that. All right? So you want to play the pattern with me at home? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? And now at a faster tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Well, there you have it, the first pattern in our video lesson. So keep in mind that this pattern can be played just as it is with no variations whatsoever, but particularly in a small group samba context, it can be used also as a kind of jumping off point to playing different variations and to improvising, depending, of course, on the context. All right, so let's move on now to our second pattern for the lesson. The second pattern is actually a particular version of telecuteco. If you don't know what telecuteco is the name that samba musicians in Rio give to a particular rhythmic pattern that comes from the Congo-Angola region of Africa, and that was brought to Brazil during the slave trade, and that functions in the samba as a kind of timeline or guide rhythm. So I call telecuteco the samba timeline. If you don't really know what the samba timeline is, I invite you to check out another video that I posted to this channel last year called An Introduction to the Samba Rhythm. And in there, I explain quite a bit more about the samba timeline. All right? There are actually different ways of playing telecuteco or the samba timeline. There are different versions of it. The particular version of telecuteco that I teach in that video and that I generally start my students off with is the following. 1, 2, I love samba, yes, I love samba. I love samba, yes, I love samba. Okay? If you notice there, I started playing the pattern on beat 3, not on beat 1. And that's because, in my experience, in a majority of samba songs, that phrase is actually in the middle of the cycle, not at the beginning. If that confuses you, don't worry. This is a big, complex subject, but just suffice it to say that this pattern, I love samba, yes, I love samba, I love samba, as I've just vocalized it here, starts in the middle of the phrase, not at the beginning. But don't worry about that. Let's continue now. Now, we can actually, that's one version of telecuteco, but we can actually modify this to create a second version of telecuteco, which is as follows. Instead of going, I love samba, yes, I love samba, we can go, I love samba, yes, I love samba. I love samba, yes, I love samba. So what did I do there? Instead of going, I love samba, where the syllables samba are close together, I've taken the syllable ba of samba and I moved it closer to yes. So I've gone, I love samba, yes, I love samba. 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 Okay, so that's a second version of telecuteco. Now, I want to teach you a third version of telecuteco, and for that we have to change our mnemonic device, and it's going to be like this. I love samba, yes, I can play it. You got it? Ready, go. I love samba, yes, I can play it. 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 Okay, so this is yet a third version of telecuteco, and there may be others, but I've just taught you 3 of them. Okay, so this third version of telecuteco is actually the exact rhythm of this second basic pattern that I'm going to teach you now for Agogo, for samba. All right? So when we distribute this pattern between the 2 bells, it's going to get a little complicated. So here's the way I'm going to teach it. I'm going to teach you the pattern in 2 parts. The first part is going to come right after beat 1. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. Okay, so that's the first part. 1. I can play it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. 3, 4, 1. I can play it. 3, 4, 1. I can play it. 3, 4, 1. I can play it 3, 4, 1. So let's add now the second part of the phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. I love samba, yes. 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. I love samba, yes. 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. I love samba, yes. 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. I love samba, yes. 2, 3, 4, 1. Now let's just play it continuously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. I love samba, yes. 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 Okay, let's play the same pattern faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can play it. I love samba, yes. 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 All right, very good. So now I want to show you how this second pattern can be played in the context of a bateria. It can be played also in small group samba, and it can also be played in the bateria on a 4-bell agogo. And let me show you that now. So as I mentioned, the 4-bell agogo was created by a musician from the Império Serrano Samba School in Rio named Edgardo Agogo. He actually created the instrument and first started using it at the Portela Samba School, though, and he adapted that rhythm from the 2-bell agogo onto the 4-bell agogo, and then he moved back to his original samba school of Império Serrano, and to this day, the Império Serrano Samba School is famous for playing this particular signature rhythm on the 4-bell agogo, okay, among many other different melodic lines, okay? So here we go. So let me show you a little bit about the 4-bell agogo. So here's the way I hold it. I press it up against my stomach or even my waist, and I have there are 4 bells. The highest one is to my right side and the lowest bell is to my left side. And I want to make sure that I'm playing the mouth and the center of the mouth of each bell. And we're going to take that same pattern that we learned and we're going to adapt it to the 4-bell agogo as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so if you notice there, I'm going right after beat 1, I'm playing 3 notes on the highest bell, 1, and then I'm playing 2 notes on each of the other bells. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so let's now play it a little faster to finish up our lesson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson on the Agogo. And if you're interested in the Agogo, Samba New York will be offering a Samba Challenge workshop on the Agogo on September 20th. So if you'd like to sign up for that, we have a link in the description to that workshop. It's open to all levels, and we hope to see you there. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you so much for being here. Please like the video, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.